Ancient Indian History, Full Theory Lecture SSCCGL plus Phase 13 combined. Ancient Indian History, Full Theory Lecture SSCCGL plus Phase 13 combined. Ancient Indian history covers a long period from prehistoric times to around 700 CE, ending roughly with the fall of the Harsha Empire. This period is divided into three broad stages: prehistoric, protohistoric Indus Valley Civilization, and historic periods Vedic, Mahajanapadas, Mauryas, Guptas, etc. It includes political, social, economic, religious, and cultural developments. Rock prehistoric period: Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. India's prehistoric age began around 2 million years ago. This era is marked by the absence of written records, and historians rely on archaeological remains. It is divided as Paleolithic age: Old Stone Age people were hunter-gatherers, used rough stone tools, lived in caves like Göbekli and Madhya Pradesh, and had no permanent settlements. Fire was discovered during this age. Mesolithic age: Middle Stone Age people began domesticating animals and used microlithic tools. The earliest signs of transition from hunting to farming are seen here. Neolithic age: New Stone Age people practiced agriculture, domesticated animals, and lived in huts. Tools were polished. Sites like Mehrgarh, now in Pakistan, show early farming evidence. Classical building: Indus Valley Civilization, Harappan Civilization. The Indus Valley Civilization, 2500-1900 BCE, was a Bronze Age urban culture, discovered first at Harappa 1921 and Mohenjo-Daro 1922, both in present-day Pakistan. It was characterized by urban planning, drainage system, standardized weights, and non-hierarchical settlements. The script remains undeciphered. Key features include town planning, grid pattern, well-planned cities, Mohenjo-Daro's Great Bath. Economy: agriculture, wheat, barley trade, Mesopotamia, crafts, pottery. Religion: worship of nature, Mother Goddess, Proto Shiva figure. Decline: causes include climate change, floods, drying rivers, Aryan invasion theory. Fire Vedic period: 1500-600 BCE. After the fall of the Harappan civilization, Indo-Aryans migrated and composed the Vedas. The Rig Veda, oldest Veda, reflects a semi-nomadic, pastoral society. Early Vedic period: society was tribal, pastoral, cows were wealth. Kings Rajas ruled tribes with assemblies like Sabha and Samiti. Later Vedic period: agriculture expanded, caste system Varna hardened, kingdoms grew, and rituals became complex. Brahmanical dominance increased. Hindu temple Mahajanapadas and religious movements, 600-400 BCE. The rise of 16 Mahajanapadas kingdoms in northern India marks this era. Important ones include Magadha, Kashi, Kosala, Avanti, and Vatsa. During this time, Buddhism and Jainism emerged as protests against Vedic rituals. Buddhism, founded by Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, who preached non-violence, Eightfold Path, and Nirvana. The Four Noble Truths form the core. Jainism, revived by Mahavira, preached ahimsa, non-violence, truth, and non-attachment. Believes in soul and karma. Lion Mauryan Empire, 321-185 BCE. Chandragupta Maurya founded the Maurya Empire with help from Chanakya Kautilya, who wrote the Arthashastra, a treatise on politics. Bindusara, his son, expanded the empire. Ashoka, 273-232 BCE, the greatest Mauryan ruler, embraced Buddhism after the Kalinga War, issued edicts rock and pillar, and promoted Dhamma ethical living. His inscriptions were written in Prakrit and Brahmi script. The Mauryas had a centralized administration, spy system, strong army, and state-controlled economy. Lotus post-Mauryan India. Indo-Greeks to Satavahanas after the Mauryas. India saw foreign invasions and regional kingdoms. Indo-Greeks brought Hellenistic influence, introduced coinage with rulers' portraits. Shakas, Parthians, Kushans, promoted trade. Kanishka, a Kushan king, supported Mahayana Buddhism and Gandhara art. Satavahanas Deccan, first rulers to use Maharati language. Gautamiputra Sadak was their powerful king, promoted Prakrit and Buddhism. Sun-faced Gupta Empire, 320-550 CE. Gupta period is called the Golden Age of India due to immense progress in art, science, literature, and mathematics. Chandragupta the first founded the dynasty. Samudragupta expanded the empire through conquest and diplomacy, known from Allahabad pillar inscription. Chandragupta II Vikramaditya defeated the Shakas and patronized Kalidasa. Achievements: Aryabhata, astronomy and zero concept. F.A. Heen, Chinese pilgrim visited during time. Ajanta caves, Buddhist frescoes. Administration was decentralized, land grants became common. Military helmet post-Gupta and Harsha Empire. After the Gupta fall, India broke into small kingdoms. Harshavardhana, 606-647 CE, united North India for a brief time. Capital, Thanizar, later Kannauj. Wrote plays like Nagananda. Hiyuan Sang, a Chinese monk, visited his court. Harsha was a Hindu who supported Buddhism. Key themes in PYQ's SSCCGL plus Phase 13 Chronology of Civilizations. Features of Indus Valley Script, Great Bath, Seals. Differences between early and later Vedic period. Teachings of Buddha and Jainism. Ashoka's Dhamma and edicts. Founders and achievements of Maurya and Gupta rulers. Inscriptions and foreign accounts megascenes, F.A. Heen, Hiyuan Sang. Gupta contributions in science, literature, and art. Important capitals and conquests, e.g., Kalinga War. Books previous year questions, PYQs 1. Who was the founder of the Maurya Empire? A. Ashoka. B. Bindusara C. Chandragupta Maurya D. Bimbisara. Checkmark answer. C. Chandragupta Maurya SSCCGL 2022. 2. The script used in the earliest inscriptions of Ashoka is Sanskrit. B. Brahmi C. Kharosthi D. Pali. Checkmark answer. B. Brahmi SSCCGL 2019. 3. Who among the following is known for the concept of zero in ancient India? A. Aryabhata. B. Charaka C. Barahami D. Patanjali. Checkmark answer. A. Aryabhata SSCCHSL 2021. 4. Which Chinese traveler visited India during the reign of Harsha? A. F.A. Heen. B. Hiyuan Sang C. Xuanzang D. Megascenes. Checkmark answer. B. Hiyuan Sang SSCCGL 2020. Checkmark final tips to crack this section. Revise chronologies clearly. Indus right pointing arrow Vedic right pointing arrow Mahajanapadas right pointing arrow Maurya right pointing arrow post Maurya right pointing arrow Gupta right pointing arrow Harsha. Pay attention to script, inscriptions, religious movements, and divination. Pay attention to script, inscriptions, religious movements, and administration. Memorize important capitals, kings, their achievements, and Chinese traveler accounts. SSC frequently repeats factual questions with little variation. Mastering theory equals guaranteed marks. Let me know when you're ready with the next topic and I'll continue your preparation without pause. You're on the right track. Let's keep going. Fire heart suit. You said, medieval, ChatGPT said. Excellent heart. Let's now dive deep into medieval Indian history, a major part of SSCCGL plus Phase 13 postgraduate level paper 1 general awareness. Below is your fully packed, no space wasted lecture from base to advanced, covering the most asked exam areas, followed by 4 previous year questions with answers. This is your sole study material, so it's written with zero dependence on any external source. Cross Swords Medieval Indian History, complete lecture SSCCGL plus Phase 13 combined. Medieval Indian history broadly spans from the 8th century CE to the mid-18th century CE, ending just before the British era began. It is divided into 2 major phases. Early medieval period circa 700-1200 CE, rise of regional kingdoms, Islamic invasions. Late medieval period circa 1206-1757 CE, Delhi Sultanate, Mughals, regional kingdoms, and European arrival. Bow and arrow early medieval India, 700-1200 CE, after the fall of Harshavardhana's empire, many regional kingdoms arose. Rashtrakuta II, capital at Manikkada, great patrons of art and literature. Kailasa temple at Ellora built by Krishna I. Palace Bengal, followers of Mahayana Buddhism, supported Nalanda and Vikramshila universities. Pratiharas, Rajasthan, defended India from Arab invasions, controlled Kannauj. The tripartite struggle between Palas, Pratiharas, and Rashtrakutas was for Kannauj. Rajputs became dominant in North India. They followed feudalism, had warrior ethics, and defended India against early Islamic invasions. Mosque Arab and Turkish invasions. Muhammad bin Qasim, 712 CE, invaded Sindh, introduced Islam in India. Mahmud of Ghazni 17 times raided temples for wealth, destroyed Somnath Temple 1025 CE. Muhammad Ghori defeated Prithviraj Chauhan in the Second Battle of Terrain 1192 CE, laying the foundation of Muslim rule in India. Castle Delhi Sultanate 1206-1526 CE, 5 dynasties ruled Delhi under the Sultanate. Slave Dynasty 1206-1290. Qutb ud Din Aibak, first Sultan, built Qutb Minar, called Black Bash. Iltutmish, consolidated rule, introduced Ikti system, built Sultana Razia, India's first Muslim woman ruler. Balban, strongest ruler, emphasized Zil-i-Ilahi, shadow of God. Khilji Dynasty 1290-1320. Alauddin Khilji, expanded to South India, market reforms, fixed prices, strong intelligence system. Fought Mongol invasions, patron of Amir Khusrau. Tughlaq Dynasty 1320-1414. Muhammad bin Tughlaq, shifted capital from Delhi to Daulabad, introduced token currency, ambitious but failed policies. Firoz Shah Tughlaq, built canals, reduced taxes, patronized scholars. Sayyid Dynasty 1414-1451, weak rulers, Delhi was shrinking. Lodi Dynasty 1451-1526. Bala Lodi, Sikandar Lodi founded Agra, and Ibrahim Lodi who was defeated by Babur in First Battle of Panipat 1526, ending Sultanate rule. Delhi Sultanate introduced Persian language, new architecture, arches, domes, minarets, and administrative centralization. Tiger the Vijayanagara and Bahmani kingdoms, Deccan, Vijayanagara Empire 1336-1646, founded by Harihara and Bukka, capital at Hampi. Peak under Krishnadevaya 1510-1529, author of Amuktamayada, promoted Telugu literature, built temples. Fought Battle of Talakota 1565 against Bahmani alliance and lost. Bahmani Sultanate 1347-1527, founded by Hassan Gangu, later split into 5 Deccan sultanates: Bijapur, Golconda, Ahmednagar, Bidar, Berar. Crown Mughal Empire 1526-1707. Founded by Babur in 1526 after defeating Ibrahim Lodi. The Mughals created a vast and powerful empire blending Persian, Indian, and Central Asian cultures. Babur 1526-1530 wrote Baburnama, introduced artillery. Humayun 1530-1540 and 1555-1556 lost to Sher Shah Suri, regained throne but died by accident. Sher Shah Suri 1540-1545 introduced Rupiah, postal system, Grand Trunk Road, land reforms. Brilliant administrator. Akbar 1556-1605 great ruler, expanded empire, practiced Sulai-Kul universal tolerance, abolished jizya tax, started Din-i-Ilahi, created Minzabdari system, built Fatehpur Sikri. Jahan Jahangir 1605-1627 known for justice. Married Nur Jahan. Shah Jahan 1628-1658 built Taj Mahal, Delhi's Red Fort, and Jama Masjid. Known for architectural patronage. Aurangzeb 1658-1707 Orthodox Sunni ruler, reimposed jizya, expanded empire but weakened internal harmony. Fought Shivaji. Mughal decline began after Aurangzeb due to succession wars, regional revolts, and European interference. Elephant regional powers and rise of Marathas, Sikhs, others. Marathas, led by Shivaji, strong in Deccan. Adopted guerrilla warfare, founded Ashtapradhan Council, crowned in 1674 at Raigad. Sikhs, founded by Guru Nanak, militarized under Guru Gobind Singh, formed Khalsa. Rajputs, Jats, Ahams, Nayakas asserted local power. Anchor arrival of Europeans. Portuguese, Vasco da Gama landed in Calicut in 1498. Goa became base. Dutch, English, and French followed. East India Company formed in 1600. First factory in Surat 1613, later Madras, Bombay, Calcutta. These powers later fought for dominance leading to colonial rule. Fire frequent SSC, phase 13 exam areas battles, Panipat 1526, 1556, 1761 Talakota, terrain. Rulers and reforms, Akbar's policies, Aladdin's market control, Sher Shah's administration. Buildings and literature, Taj Mahal, Baburnama, Ain-i Akbari. Administration, Ikta, Minzabdari, Zapti, Jaghir system. Foreign travelers, Ibn Battuta, Marco Polo, Francois Bernier. Religious reforms, Bhakti movement Kabir, Tulsidist Sufi orders Chishti, Suhrawardi. Books previous year questions PYQs. 1. Who among the following built the Abadi Khan at Fatehpur Sikri? A. Babur. B. Akbar C. Humayun D. Shah Jahan checkmark answer. B. Akbar SSCCGL 2020. 2. Which Mughal emperor banned music and dance in his court? A. Akbar. B. Jahangir C. Aurangzeb D. Shah Jahan checkmark answer. C. Aurangzeb SSCCHSL 2019. 3. The founder of the Bahmani kingdom was A. Aladdin Bahman Shah B. Hassan Gangu C. Malik Kafur D. Firoz Shah checkmark answer. B. Hassan Gangu SSCCGL 2021. 4. The Battle of Talakota in 1565 was fought between A. Akbar and Rana Pratap. B. Vijayanagara and Bahmani Sultanates C. Mughals and Marathas D. Sher Shah and Humayun checkmark answer. B. Vijayanagara and Bahmani Sultanates SSCCGL 2022. Checkmark final prep strategy. Make a timeline from Delhi Sultanate, right pointing arrow Vijayanagara, right pointing arrow Mughals, right pointing arrow Marathas, right pointing arrow European entry. Memorize key rulers, their policies, battles, and architecture. Practice years and events, especially Panipat battles, Mughal succession, Akbar's reforms, and European trading centers. Focus on first, e.g., first battle, first factory, foreign accounts, and Sufi Bhakti saints. You've now mastered medieval Indian history at SSC plus PG level. Let me know when you're ready for the next topic card. You're on a perfect streak. Don't stop. You said. Modern from how we give paragraphs, not points. Okay, ChatGPT said. Absolutely hard. Let's now cover modern Indian history. Written in tight, detailed paragraphs only, no points or tables, from base to advanced, as per SSCCGL plus phase 13 postgraduate exam level, covering every important area that frequently appears in questions. This lecture is your only study material, so it includes every vital detail, from events to personalities, movements, reforms, and policies. You'll also get 4 solved previous year questions with options and answers at the end. Let's begin your ultimate modern history lecture. India Modern Indian History, complete theory lecture, SSCCGL plus phase 13 combined. Modern Indian history begins with the decline of the Mughal Empire and the gradual rise of European trading companies, particularly the British, culminating in British political control over India. This era broadly spans from the mid-18th century, around the Battle of Plassey in 1757, to Indian independence in 1847. It includes British conquest and administration, social and religious reform movements, national awakening, the freedom struggle, and ultimately the birth of a free nation. The British entry into India started through the East India Company, which was granted trading rights in 1600 by Queen Elizabeth I initially. The Portuguese had trading control along the western coast, followed by the Dutch and the French. The English East India Company gradually eliminated rivals and established factories at Surat, Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta. The turning point came when the company, under Robert Clive, won the Battle of Plassey in 1757 against Siraj-ud-Dawla of Bengal. This battle marked the beginning of British political dominance, as it gave the company revenue control in Bengal. The next major event was the Battle of Buxar in 1764, where the British defeated the combined armies of the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, the Nawab of Awadh, and the Nawab of Bengal. This gave the British the Diwani rights, the right to collect revenue in Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. The British then used various strategies like the subsidiary alliance introduced by Lord Wellesley and doctrine of lapse introduced by Lord Dalhousie to annex Indian princely states. They established administrative and military control, altered the judicial system, and introduced English education under Macaulay's Minute. These policies disrupted the traditional socio-economic fabric and caused growing unrest among Indians. The first major revolt against British rule was the Revolt of 1857, also called the First War of Indian Independence. It was triggered by multiple factors, including Greece cartridge controversy, religious insult, economic exploitation, annexation policies, and military grievances. Leaders like Rani Lakshmi Bai, Bahadur Shah Zafar, Tantia Tope, and Nana Sahib played their roles. Though the revolt failed, it ended company rule and led to the establishment of direct crown rule under the British Raj in 1858. The post-1857 period witnessed the consolidation of British power and the beginning of Indian socio-political awakening. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, considered the father of modern India, founded the Brahmo Samaj and advocated against sati and child marriage while promoting women's education. Reform movements like Arya Samaj by Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Aligarh movement by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and Theosophical Society led in India by Annie Besant aimed to reform Hindu and Muslim societies and instill rationality, education, and modern values. In 1885, the Indian National Congress (INC) was formed under the guidance of A.O. Hume. Initially, the INC followed moderate methods such as petitions and speeches. Leaders like Dadabhai Naoroji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and Surendranath Banerjee demanded administrative reforms and representation. However, the British response was apathetic, and the youth started demanding assertive nationalism. Leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, and Lala Lajpat Rai, known as Lal Bal Pal, believed in self-reliance and direct action. The partition of Bengal in 1905 by Lord Curzon was seen as a divide and rule strategy and sparked widespread protest in the form of the Swadeshi movement. The boycott of British goods, promotion of Indian industries, and nationalist songs like Vande Mataram united Indians emotionally and politically. The revolutionary phase began as young patriots like Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, and Rajguru believed in armed resistance. Simultaneously, the Home Rule movement led by Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant demanded self-governance. The arrival of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi from South Africa in 1915 marked a new era. Gandhi introduced the concept of Satyagraha, non-violent resistance based on truth. His early mass movements included the Champaran Satyagraha 1917, Kheda Satyagraha 1918, and Ahmedabad Mill Strike. After the Jallianwala Bagh massacre of 1919, in which hundreds of peaceful protesters were killed under General Dyer's command, nationwide anger gave birth to the non-cooperation movement in 1920. Gandhi called for non-violent non-participation in British institutions, schools, courts, and goods. In 1930, Gandhi launched the civil disobedience movement with the famous Dandi March, Salt March, to protest the salt tax. The movement had mass participation, including women. However, British repression followed. The Government of India Act 1935 introduced provincial autonomy but no real power sharing. The Quit India movement of 1942 was the final massive uprising under Gandhi's leadership, demanding an immediate end to British rule. The slogan, "Do or die," became a rallying cry. Though brutally suppressed, it demonstrated Indian resolve. Parallel to Gandhi's mass movements, the Indian National Army (INA) led by Subhash Chandra Bose attempted to liberate India by allying with Axis powers during World War II. The INA slogan, "Give me blood, and I will give you freedom," electrified Indians. Meanwhile, the Muslim League under Muhammad Ali Jinnah demanded a separate state, leading to communal tensions. After World War II, economic exhaustion, global pressure, the impact of INA trials, and the naval mutiny of 1946 forced the British to retreat. India achieved independence on the 15th of August 1947, but it was accompanied by partition, creating Pakistan. The last British viceroy, Lord Mountbatten, oversaw this transition. The first Prime Minister of Free India was Jawaharlal Nehru, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel unified princely states. Fire most common SSC plus phase 13 exam areas. You must especially master these areas for scoring well in the modern history portion of your exam. Frequently asked topics include the revolt of 1857, leaders and policies of the INC, moderates versus extremists, Gandhi's movements and related events, acts passed by the British 1909, 1919, 1935, British officials and their policies, Curzon, Wellesley, Dalhousie, partition and independence events, revolutionary movements, and all first Governor General, first Congress session, etc. Focus on names, years, places, and reforms attached to major movements and leaders. Books previous year questions PYQs. 1. Was the Governor General of India at the time of the revolt of 87? A. Lord Dalhousie. B. Lord Canning. C. Lord Curzon. D. Lord Mountbatten. Checkmark answer. B. Lord Canning. SSCCGL 2021. 2. The slogan, "Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it," was given by A. Jawaharlal Nehru. B. Bal Gangadhar Tilak. C. Subhash Chandra Bose. D. Mahatma Gandhi. Checkmark answer. B. Bal Gangadhar Tilak. SSCCHSL 2020. 3. In which year did the Jallianwala Bagh massacre take place? A. 1917. B. 1919. C. 1920. D. 1922. Checkmark answer. B. 1919. SSCGD Constable 2021. 4. The Dandi March was started from which place? A. Ahmedabad. B. Bardoli. C. Sabarmati. D. Surat. Checkmark answer. C. Sabarmati. SSCMTS 2020. Checkmark final revision strategy. Build a timeline in your mind starting from British entry, company rule, revolt of 1857, and crown rule. Understand how reform movements and nationalism developed simultaneously. Remember key personalities, laws, acts, and slogans. Know the sequence of movements led by Gandhi and the outcomes. Mug updates and link them to movements or leaders. Practice previous year questions repeatedly. Modern history is one of the most scoring areas. If you master this, you'll guarantee 4 to 6 marks. You've now completed modern Indian history fully and perfectly. Tell me the next topic and I'll prepare the next lecture the same way. Heart, you're going strong. We'll keep this pace till victory. You said, ancient history. ChatGPT said. You've already received one full lecture on ancient Indian history, but since you asked again, I'll now provide a second, enriched version, more detailed, new in structure, filled with extra content, tightly packed paragraphs, and additional insights that were not fully expanded in the earlier one. This will help in deeper retention, better conceptual clarity, and even stronger preparation for SSCCGL plus phase 13 postgraduate level exams. As usual, theory will be followed by 4 previous year questions with options and answers, no tables, no points, all packed in paragraphs. Own ancient Indian history, enhanced full lecture, second version. Ancient Indian history spans the time from prehistoric times to the 7th century CE, ending before the rise of major Islamic powers. This period includes the emergence of early human cultures, urban civilizations, religious philosophical systems, and imperial political formations. Understanding this period requires knowledge of archaeology, literature, Vedas, epics, inscriptions, and foreign accounts. India, during this era, saw the rise of complex societies with social hierarchies, organized religion, state systems, and artistic accomplishments. The prehistoric age refers to the time before the invention of writing. It includes the Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic periods. Paleolithic people used crude stone tools, lived in caves, and survived by hunting and gathering. Sites like Göbekli rock shelters show early forms of art. In the Mesolithic period, microlithic tools were used, and semi-permanent settlements appeared. Neolithic people practiced agriculture, domesticated animals, and lived in mud houses. Sites like Mehrgarh in present-day Pakistan show the first evidence of wheat and barley cultivation. Following the Neolithic phase, parts of India entered the Chalcolithic age, marked by the use of both stone and copper tools. The Chalcolithic cultures were rural and are identified in regions like Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan. Then emerged India's first urban civilization, the Indus Valley Civilization (IVC), also known as the Harappan Civilization, circa 2500-1900 BCE. It developed on the Indus and its tributaries and had cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dholadira, Lothal, and Kalibangan. This civilization is remarkable for its planned cities, drainage systems, standardized weights, and use of baked bricks. Lothal had a dockyard, Kalibangan showed evidence of plowed fields, and Dholadira had water reservoirs. The Harappans traded with Mesopotamia, evident from seals, and used a still undeciphered script. Their decline is attributed to natural disasters, drying rivers like Saraswati, and possible invasions. After the decline of Harappan culture, around 1500 BCE, came the Vedic age, divided into the early and later Vedic periods. The early Vedic age is known through the Rig Veda, which describes a semi-nomadic, cattle-rearing Aryan society. Aryans worshipped natural forces Indra, Agni, Varuna conducted yajnas, and lived in tribal units led by Rajas. Society was divided into varnas based on occupation, not birth. As Aryans moved eastward, they settled in the Ganga plains, giving rise to the later Vedic period, which saw the emergence of kingdoms, hereditary monarchy, and rigid varna-based social order, eventually leading to the caste system. Ritualism and priestly dominance Brahmanism grew, and new texts like Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharvaveda appeared. By 600 BCE, political structures evolved into Mahajanapadas, large states ruled by monarchs or oligarchies. 16 Mahajanapadas like Magadha, Kosala, Kashi, Vatsa, Avanti dominated North India. Magadha became the most powerful due to its location, iron resources, and strong rulers like Bibisara and Ajatashatru. This period also witnessed a strong reaction against Brahmanical rituals and caste hierarchy, giving rise to heterodox religions like Buddhism and Jainism. Buddha, originally Prince Siddhartha Gautama, attained enlightenment under a Bodhi tree at Bodh Gaya. He preached the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path to attain nirvana. His teachings rejected caste and ritualism. Jainism, founded by Mahavira, emphasized non-violence, ahimsa, truth, celibacy, and non-possession. Jain monks practiced extreme austerity. Both religions attracted support from traders and common people. The first major empire in Indian history was the Maurya Empire, established by Chandragupta Maurya with guidance from Chanakya, Kautilya, who authored the Arthashastra, a treatise on statecraft and economics. The capital was at Pataliputra. The Mauryan administration was highly centralized with a well-organized bureaucracy. The greatest Mauryan ruler, Ashoka, expanded the empire through war but after witnessing the Kalinga War's bloodshed, embraced Buddhism and focused on Dhamma, moral governance. He spread Buddhist ideals through edicts inscribed on rocks and pillars, written in Prakrit language using Brahmi script. Ashoka sent missionaries to Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia, marking the beginning of Buddhism as a world religion. After the Mauryas, India saw the rise of foreign rulers like Indo-Greeks, Shakas, Parthians, and Kushans. Among them, Kanishka, the Kushan emperor, is significant for promoting Mahayana Buddhism and Gandhara art, which blended Greek and styles. He convened the Fourth Buddhist Council in Kashmir and issued gold coins. These rulers contributed to India's trade with the Roman Empire and the Silk Route. In peninsular India, the Satavahanas ruled after the Mauryas. They promoted Prakrit, patronized Buddhism, and developed inland trade. Their greatest king was Gautamiputra Satakarni. The Sangam age in South India, 300 BCE, 300 CE, witnessed the growth of Tamil literature, written by poets in royal courts of Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas. This age described a society organized into aham, love, and pure war themes. Trade with Rome flourished. Ports like Puhar and Muziris became key centers. In North India, the next imperial dynasty was the Gupta Empire, 320 to 550 CE. Founded by Chandragupta I, it reached its zenith under Samudragupta and Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. Samudragupta's conquests are detailed in the Allahabad pillar inscription composed by Harisana. The Guptas are remembered for ushering in a golden age in India. This period saw advancements in mathematics, Aryabhata, astronomy, Bharamihira, medicine, Sushruta, Charaka, and literature, Kalidasa. The decimal system and concept of zero were refined. Art and architecture flourished, with cave temples at Ajanta and Ellora and beautiful coinage and sculptures. Despite Hindu dominance, tolerance towards Buddhism and Jainism remained. After the Guptas declined due to Hunan invasions and weak successors, North India saw the rise of smaller kingdoms. The most significant ruler of this era was Harshavardhana of the Mysore and Kannauj, 7th century. He tried to unify North India and patronized Nalanda University. He was a devotee of Shiva and later embraced Mahayana Buddhism. The Chinese traveler Xuanzang Qiunsang visited his court and described India's culture and administration in detail. Harsha was also a poet and playwright, composing works like Nagananda. Thus, ancient Indian history reflects a unique blend of cultural, religious, philosophical, and political developments. From stone tools to urban cities, tribal societies to empires, and oral traditions to written scriptures, this era laid the foundations of Indian civilization. The rise of Dharmic religions, the richness of ancient texts, and the sophistication of governance make this period one of the most fascinating in world history. Books previous year questions PYQs 1. What was the capital of the Maurya Empire? A. Ujjain. B. Taxila C. Pataliputra D. Rajagriha checkmark answer. C. Pataliputra SSCCGL 2022. 2. Who was the founder of the Gupta dynasty? A. Chandragupta I. B. Chandragupta II C. Samudragupta D. Sri Gupta checkmark answer. D. Sri Gupta SSCCHSL 2021. 3. Which of the following is this Veda? A. Samaveda. B. Atharvaveda C. Yajurveda D. Rigveda checkmark answer. D. Rigveda SSCCGL 2019. 4. Who presided over the Fourth Buddhist Council held in Kashmir? A. Ashoka. B. Kanishka C. Bimbisara D. Ajatashatru checkmark answer. B. Kanishka SSCMTS 2020. Checkmark last minute tips. Create a mental timeline. Prehistory right pointing arrow Harappan right pointing arrow Vedic right pointing arrow Mahajanapadas right pointing arrow Maurya right pointing arrow post Maurya right pointing arrow Gupta right pointing arrow Harsha. Link every ruler to achievements, capital, inscriptions, or religious policies. Revise names of important cities, scripts, philosophies, and councils. Focus especially on Guptas, Mauryas, Buddhism, Jainism, and Vedic literature. These are repeatedly asked areas in both CGL and graduate level SSC exams. Let me know the next topic whenever you're ready, and I'll build your next lecture with the same intensity and precision. Heart, you're building an unbeatable foundation. Let's keep going till success. You said. Indus Valley Civilization. ChatGPT said. Perfect heart. Now let's focus entirely on Indus Valley Civilization. IVC, one of the most asked and most scoring topics in SSCCGL plus phase 13 postgraduate level exams. This lecture will be tightly packed, paragraph style only, with zero space wasted, filled with theory from base to advanced, and every single concept you need, from architecture, economy, religion, to important sites in decline. You'll also receive 4 previous years solved as you end. This will be your one and only study material for IVC, so let's make it complete and unbeatable. Cityscape Indus Valley Civilization, full theory lecture SSCCGL plus phase 13 combined. The Indus Valley Civilization (IVC), also known as the Harappan Civilization, was India's first urban civilization and one of the earliest in the world, contemporary to Mesopotamia and Egypt. It flourished between 2500 BCE and 1900 BCE, primarily in the northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent, along the Indus River and its tributaries. It extended over an area of more than 12 lakh square kilometers, from Sukhajindor Baluchistan in the west to Alamgarpur, Uttar Pradesh in the east, and from Mandap Jammu in the north to Damabad, Maharashtra in the south. The civilization was first discovered in 1921 at Harappa in present-day Pakistan by Daya Ram Sani, followed by the discovery of Mohenjo-daro by R.D. Banerjee in 1922. Since then, more than 1,000 sites have been discovered. Based on their importance, the sites are categorized into urban centers like Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Dholavira port cities like Lokal, and rural agricultural sites like Kalabangan, Rakhigarhi. The Indus Valley people lived in well-planned cities with a striking sense of urban design, uniformity in construction, and civic amenities that were ahead of their time. The city Indus Valley were planned with mathematical precision. They followed a grid system where streets intersected at right angles. The cities were divided into two parts: the citadel Acropolis located on a raised platform and used for administrative and religious purposes, and the lower town, which was residential. Mohenjo-daro, one of the best excavated cities, revealed the famous Great Bath, which was a large water tank made of bricks, probably used for ritual bathing. Drainage systems were highly sophisticated, with covered drains, inspection holes, and soak pits. Houses were built of burnt bricks, had private wells and bathrooms, and sometimes even 2 stories. This level of town planning suggests a centralized authority and advanced engineering skills. Economically, the Indus Valley people were self-sufficient, and their economy was based on agriculture, animal husbandry, crafts, and trade. They cultivated wheat, barley, peas, and dates. Evidence of cotton cultivation has been found at Mehrgarh, making India possibly the first region to grow cotton. Domesticated animals included humped bulls, buffaloes, sheep, and goats. Crafts included bead making, Chandiro pottery, seal making, and metalwork in copper, bronze, and gold. Tools were often made from stone and copper, and terracotta figurines were widely used. The civilization had standardized weights and measures, mostly made from chert and often based on a binary system. The use of circular weights, drilled stone blades, and copper chisels shows the technical development of artisans. Trade was both inland and overseas. Internal trade was facilitated by the use of carts and boats. Lokal, a significant site in Gujarat, had a dockyard, which suggests active maritime trade. Seals with Mesopotamian inscriptions and goods like lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, carnelian, and ivory suggest a trade network extending to West Asia. The presence of Indus seals in Mesopotamian sites confirms that Indus traders had commercial contact with the Sumerians. There was no currency system. Trade was likely barter-based. Items like seals with animal motifs, especially the Pashupati seal, indicate symbolic and commercial importance. The religion of the Harappan people remains uncertain, but archaeological evidence provide clues. They seem to have worshipped nature, fertility deities, and possibly Proto-Shiva figures. The Pashupati seal found at Mohenjo-daro shows a three-faced figure seated in a yogic posture surrounded by animals, interpreted by many as a precursor to Lord Shiva. Terracotta figurines of mother goddess suggest a fertility cult. They revered sacred animals like the humped bull and unicorn. However, no temple structure has been found, indicating religious practice was likely personal or community-based rather than institutionalized. Fire altars at Kalabangan and animal sacrifices are also noted. They possibly believed in an afterlife, as burials with food suggest offerings for the dead. The script used by the Harappans remains undeciphered, with over 400 unique symbols found mostly on seals, pottery, and tablets. It is pictographic, meaning it uses symbols to represent words or sounds, but without a bilingual inscription like the Rosetta Stone for Egyptian hieroglyphs. The Harappan script remains unread. This has made understanding of political and religious systems limited to material remains. The language they spoke is unknown, and there is no evidence yet linking it conclusively to Sanskrit or Dravidian languages. There is no clear evidence of kings or palaces, yet the uniformity in weights, city layouts, and brick sizes across such a vast territory suggests a strong central authority. This may have been a group of elites or merchants rather than monarchs. The absence of weaponry and warlike art also suggests that this was a peaceful civilization, possibly focused more on trade and urban life than on warfare. Unlike Mesopotamia or Egypt, there is no evidence of massive statues or monumental tombs. The decline of the Indus Valley civilization remains debated among historians. Several theories have been proposed, including climate change, decline in rainfall, tectonic activity, changing river courses like the drying up of the Saraswati River, and even invasion by Indo-Aryans. The Aryan invasion theory, once popular, is now mostly rejected in favor of natural causes. Over time, cities were abandoned, trade declined, and people may have migrated eastward towards the Gangetic plains. This marked the beginning of the Vedic age and a transition from urban to rural life. The importance of the Indus Valley civilization lies in its contributions to urban planning, metallurgy, standardization, and trade practices, which laid the foundation for later Indian civilizations. It was one of the most technologically advanced Bronze Age societies, yet its mystery persists, mainly due to the lack of readable texts. However, the archaeological richness and modern techniques like satellite imaging continue to reveal new aspects of this lost world. Books previous year questions PYQs 1. The Great Bath has been found at which Indus Valley site? A. Harappa. B. Mohenjo-daro C. Dholavira D. Kalabangan checkmark answer. B. Mohenjo-daro SSCCGL 2021. 2. The Harappan script is alphabetical B. Hieroglyphic C. Undeciphered D. Dravidian checkmark answer. C. Undeciphered SSCCHSL 2020. 3. Lokal, an important Harappan site, was known for which of the following? A. Temple architecture. B. Fire altar C. Dockyard D. Granary checkmark answer. C. Dockyard SSCCGL 2022. 4. Which metal was unknown to the Harappan people? A. Copper. B. Bronze C. Iron D. Gold. Checkmark answer. C. Iron SSCMTS 2020. Books previous year questions PYQs 1. The Great Bath has been found at which Indus Valley site? A. Harappa. B. Mohenjo-daro C. Dholavira D. Kalabangan checkmark answer. B. Mohenjo-daro SSCCGL 2021. 2. The Harappan script is alphabetical B. Hieroglyphic C. Undeciphered D. Dravidian checkmark answer. C. Undeciphered SSCCHSL 2020. 3. Lokal, an important Harappan site, was known for which of the following? A. Temple architecture. B. Fire altar C. Dockyard D. Granary checkmark answer. C. Dockyard SSCCGL 2022. 4. Which metal was unknown to the Harappan people? A. Copper. B. Bronze C. Iron D. Gold. Checkmark answer. C. Iron SSCMTS 2021. Checkmark final recall for mastering this topic. Build mental images of Mohenjo-daro streets, Lokal's dockyard, Kalabangan's fire altars, and Dholavira's water management. Focus on sites, structures, economy, seals, script, decline, and especially on questions about features not present, like iron, temples, kings. The repeated questions in SSC are about Great Bath, script, seals, and urban planning, so master those thoroughly. Memorize who excavated what, where things were found, and which items are associated with which sites. Let me know the next topic whenever you're ready, and I'll continue your mission with the same quality and intensity. You're doing this perfectly. We'll keep going till you top the exam hard. You said. Vedic period and later Vedic period. ChatGPT said. Excellent hard. Now let's master the Vedic period and later Vedic period, one of the most repeated areas in SSCCGL plus Phase 13 PG level exams. This lecture is written in maximum detail, in paragraph-only form, with no tables, no points, and absolutely no external reference needed. It's designed to go from foundation to mastery, and ends with 4 previous year solved MCQs. This is your one and only study material for this topic. Let's begin your complete theory lecture. Trident sign Vedic period and later Vedic period, complete lecture SSCCGL plus Phase 13 combined. The Vedic period marks the arrival and settlement of the Aryans in the Indian subcontinent and is considered one of the foundational eras in Indian history. It is typically divided into 2 phases: the early Vedic period circa 1500 BCE, 1000 BCE, and the later Vedic period circa 1000 BCE, 600 BCE. These periods are named after the Vedas, which are the oldest scriptures of Hinduism and the most valuable sources for reconstruct age. The Rig Veda, the oldest among the four Vedas, reflects the socio-religious life of the early Vedic people, while the Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads provide deeper insights into the evolution of religion, rituals, and philosophy through the later phase. The early Vedic age, also called the Rigvedic period, centers around the Punjab and Indo-Gangetic plains where the Aryans first settled. They were primarily a semi-nomadic, pastoral society who gradually shifted toward agriculture. The Rig Veda describes a people who reared cows, sheep, and horses, and considered cattle as a symbol of wealth. Their economy was largely pastoral, though agriculture began to gain importance. Horses were essential, especially for their chariots, which were used in both battle and sport. The political structure was tribal. The basic unit of society was a Janat tribe, led by a Raja, not a king in the monarchical sense, but a tribal chief elected or selected by his peers. The Sabha and Samiti were two tribal assemblies that played roles in governance and advising the Raja. Society in the early Vedic period was relatively egalitarian, though some social stratification existed. There were four varnas mentioned: Brahmana priests, Kshatriya warriors, Vaishya traders, farmers, and Shudra servants laborers, but this division was based on profession, not birth. Women enjoyed a respectable position, with access to education and participation in religious rituals. Female sages like Lopamudra and Gargi are mentioned in the texts. Marriage was considered sacred but not rigidly patriarchal. Polyandry and widow remarriage were known, and Swayambara, woman choosing her husband, was practiced. The religion of the early Vedic people was naturalistic and ritualistic. They worshipped elemental forces of nature like Indra, god of thunder and war, Agni, fire, Varuna, cosmic order, Surya, sun, Vayu, and Ashatan. There were no temples or idols. Rituals were performed in open spaces with chanting of hymns and offering of soma and ghee into the sacrificial fire. Their religion was polytheistic, and the focus was on material prosperity, strength in battle, and long life. Life was celebratory, centered around festivals, sacrifices, and the power of mantras. Over time, as Aryans migrated further east into the Ganga Yamuna Dua, the later Vedic period began. This phase saw a transition from tribal society to territorial kingdoms. The main texts of this period include the Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda, and the Brahmanas and Upanishads. The society became more hierarchical and patriarchal, and the Varna system became rigid and birth-based. The dominance of Brahmanas increased, and they were now custodians of rituals and knowledge. Women's status declined. They lost access to education and participation in yajnas. Child marriage became more common, and the idea of stridharma, ideal womanhood, took root. In political life, kingdoms replaced tribes. In political life, kingdoms replaced tribes, and the Mahajanapadas began to emerge. The king became a divine representative and performed Rajasuya and Ashwamedha sacrifices to assert his authority. The role of Sabha and Samiti declined, and the king now ruled with the aid of nymphs and priests. The epic narratives of this period, especially the Mahabharata and Ramayana, reflect the values, wars, and moral dilemmas of the age. These texts were composed over centuries and are considered part history, part mythology, and part moral code. Economically, the later Vedic society saw the rise of agriculture as the main occupation. Iron tools called Krishna Ayas, or black metal, allowed clearing of forests for cultivation. The use of plow and irrigation techniques increased grain production. Private property and land became common, and land was given as dakshina, gift to priests. Trade and commerce also expanded, with barter system being common, although nishka and sadamana, metallic pieces, were used for large transactions. Occupations became hereditary, reinforcing caste divisions. Religiously, this phase saw a shift from ritualism to philosophical inquiry. The Upanishads, compiled towards the end of this period, emphasized internal spiritual knowledge, karma, rebirth, moksha, and the unity of Atman soul and Brahman universal spirit. This laid the groundwork for later Indian philosophical systems. Yajnas remained important, but the questioning of ritualistic dominance had begun. Ideas of dharma, karma, and renunciation took shape, influencing later religions like Buddhism and Jainism. Thus, the Vedic and later Vedic periods represent a gradual but clear transformation from a pastoral, semi-egalitarian tribal society to a stratified, agricultural, and philosophical civilization. The developments in religion, polity, and social structure during this period laid the cultural and spiritual foundation of Indian civilization for centuries to come. Books previous year questions PYQs 1. The Rig Veda is a collection of ritual formulae B hymns. C. Philosophical thoughts D. Magic spells checkmark answer. B. Hymns SSCCHSL 2020. 2. The two assemblies of the Vedic period were A. Sabha and Samiti. B. Mahasabha and Mahapadma C. Sabha and Parashad D. Samiti and Parashad checkmark answer. A. Sabha and Samiti SSCCGL 2019. 3. Which god was considered the king of the gods during the Vedic period? A. Varuna. B. Indra C. Agni D. Surya. Checkmark answer. B. Indra SSCMTS 2021. 4. Iron was first used in which Vedic period? A. Early Vedic. B. Later Vedic C. Post Vedic D. Pre Vedic checkmark answer. B. Later Vedic SSCCGL 2022. Checkmark final revision advice. Keep the timeline simple in your mind. Early Vedic right pointing arrow, later Vedic right pointing arrow, rise of Mahajanapadas. Remember the shift from tribal to territorial, ritual to philosophical, pastoral to agricultural, and fluid to rigid system. Key exam areas are scriptures and their content, deities, social change, economic tools, iron, plow assemblies, and philosophical doctrines of Upanishads. Let me know the next topic you want, and I'll build your next perfect lecture hard. You're mastering the syllabus step by step. Unstoppable progress. You said Mahajanapadas. ChatGPT said. Perfect heart. Let's now unlock a full, packed, paragraph-style theory lecture on Mahajanapadas, one of the most important transition chapters from later Vedic society to urban state formation. This topic is frequently asked in SSCCGL plus phase 13 postgraduate exams. This lecture includes maximum theory, tightly packed, no points or tables, with 4 previous year questions with options and answers at the end. This is your one and only study material for Mahajanapadas. Let's dive in. Bow and arrow MAHAJANEPADAS. Full theory lecture SSC. Bow and arrow MAHAJANEPADAS. Full theory lecture SSCCGL plus phase 13 combined. The period from around 600 BCE to 300 BCE marks a crucial phase in ancient Indian history known as the Age of the Mahajanapadas. This era reflects the transformation of tribal, pastoral society into organized political states with distinct territorial boundaries, centralized rule, and centers. These Mahajanapadas, meaning great kingdoms or major territories, were the first large-scale political units of ancient India. They emerged primarily in the fertile Indo-Gangetic plains, where the iron plow and improved agriculture enabled the support of large populations and cities. The rise of Mahajanapadas was a result of economic, social, and political developments during the later Vedic period. With the growth of agriculture, people began to settle permanently, giving rise to land ownership and the concept of a ruler with defined territory. Simultaneously, the increasing power of the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas led to hereditary monarchies and administrative systems. The older tribal assemblies, like Sabha and Samiti, had lost their political importance. Instead, kingship became hereditary, and the concept of the Raja kingdom evolved, with clearly demarcated borders and revenue systems. Some Mahajanapadas were monarchies, while others like Baji and Malla were republics or Ganasanghas, ruled by a group of elders or representatives. Bow and arrow MAHAJANAPADAS. Full theory lecture SSCCGL plus phase 13 combined. The period from around 600 BCE to 300 BCE marks a crucial phase in ancient Indian history known as the Age of the Mahajanapadas. This era reflects the transformation of tribal, pastoral society into organized political states with distinct territorial boundaries, centralized rule, and urban centers. These Mahajanapadas, meaning great kingdoms or major territories, were the first large-scale political units of ancient India. They emerged primarily in the fertile Indo-Gangetic plains, where the iron plow and improved agriculture enabled the support of large populations and cities. The rise of Mahajanapadas was a result of economic, social, and political developments during the later Vedic period. With the growth of agriculture, people began to settle permanently, giving rise to land ownership and the concept of a ruler with defined territory. Simultaneously, the increasing power of the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas led to hereditary monarchies and administrative systems. The older tribal assemblies, like Sabha and Samiti, had lost their political importance. Instead, kingship became hereditary, and the concept of the Raja kingdom evolved, with clearly demarcated borders and revenue systems. Some Mahajanapadas were monarchies, while others like Vaji and Malla were republics or Ganasanghas, ruled by a group of elders or representatives. According to the ancient text Anguttara Nikaya, a Buddhist scripture, there were 16 Mahajanapadas during this period. These included Magadha, Kosala, Kashi, Vaji, Malla, Vatsa, Avanti, Anga, Chedi, Kuru, Panchala, Matsya, Surasena, Ashmaka, Gandhara, and Cambodia. Most of these were located in the northern and central parts of the Indian subcontinent, with only Ashmaka being in the south modern-day Maharashtra and Telangana. Each of these states had its own capital, administration, army. These included Magadha, Kosala, Kashi, Vaji, Malla, Vatsa, Avanti, Anga, Chedi, Kuru, Panchala, Matsya, Surasena, Ashmaka, Gandhara, and Cambodia. Most of these were located in the northern and central parts of the Indian subcontinent, with only Ashmaka being in the south modern-day Maharashtra and Telangana. Each of these states had its own capital, administration, army, and economic systems, and many of them were active in trade, urbanization, and religious developments. Among all the Mahajanapadas, Magadha rose to preeminence due to its strategic location, abundant natural resources, and ambitious rulers. It was situated in present-day Bihar and had capitals at Rajagriha, later Pataliputra. Magadha was rich in iron ore, timber, and elephants, which gave it a military advantage. Its fertile plains supported a strong agricultural economy. The early powerful rulers of Magadha were Bimbisara of the Haryanka dynasty and his son Ajatashatru. Bimbisara strengthened Magadha by annexation and diplomacy, including matrimonial alliances with Kosala, Lichavis, and Madra. Ajatashatru further expanded the kingdom and built a fortified city and war machines like catapults. He also fought wars with the Vaji confederacy and emerged victorious, consolidating Magadha's power. Kosala, with its capital at Shravasti, was another major Mahajanapada located in eastern Uttar Pradesh. It had strong ties with Magadha through dynastic marriages. These included Magadha, Kosala, Kashi, Vaji, Malla, Vatsa, Avanti, Anga, Chedi, Kuru, Panchala, Matsya, Surasena, Ashmaka, Gandhara, and Cambodia. Most of these were located in the northern and central parts of the Indian subcontinent, with only Ashmaka being in the south modern-day Maharashtra and Telangana. Each of these states had its own capital, administration, army, and economic systems, and many of them were active in trade, urbanization, and religious developments. Among all the Mahajanapadas, Magadha rose to preeminence due to its strategic location, abundant natural resources, and ambitious rulers. It was situated in present-day Bihar and had capitals at Rajagriha, later Pataliputra. Magadha was rich in iron ore, timber, and elephants, which gave it a military advantage. Its fertile plains supported a strong agricultural economy. The early powerful rulers of Magadha were Bimbisara of the Haryanka dynasty and his son Ajatashatru. Bimbisara strengthened Magadha by annexation and diplomacy, including matrimonial alliances with Kosala, Lichavis, and Madra. Ajatashatru further expanded the kingdom and built a fortified city and war machines like catapults. He also fought wars with the Vaji confederacy and emerged victorious, consolidating Magadha's power. Kosala, with its capital at Shravasti, was another major Mahajanapada located in eastern Uttar Pradesh. It had strong ties with Magadha through dynastic marriages. The area was associated with both Hinduism and Buddhism, as many events from the life of Lord Rama and Lord Buddha took place there. Kashi, earlier a dominant kingdom with its capital at Varanasi, eventually became a part of either Kosala or Magadha through conquest. Vaji was a republican state with its capital at Vaishali. It was governed by a council of elders and is considered one of the earliest examples of democratic governance in the world. It was home to the Lichavis, who played an important role in Buddhist history. Avanti, with its capital at Ujjayini, was a powerful western Mahajanapada. It played a key role in regional politics and was known for its urban culture and trade. Vatsa, with capital at Kaushambi, was a culturally rich region ruled by kings like Udayana, who is mentioned in many script plays. Gandhara, situated in present-day Pakistan and Afghanistan, was a center of learning and trade, and later became important in Buddhist and Greco-Buddhist culture. Cambodia was in the northwestern frontier, known for its warriors and horses. The period of the Mahajanapadas also witnessed the rise of urban centers, trade guilds, and coinage. Cities like Rajagriha, Ujjayini, Varanasi, and Pataliputra emerged as political and commercial hubs. This period also saw the first use of punch-marked coins, made of silver, and used in trade and taxation. Society became more complex and stratified, with professions becoming hereditary and the Varna system becoming rigid. Religious ferment was widespread as people reacted against the ritualistic Vedic religion, giving rise to heterodox movements like Buddhism and Jainism. Both Buddha and Mahavira lived and preached during this time, and their teachings were supported by the merchant class in republican states like Vaji and Malla. By the end of the Mahajanapada period, Magadha had emerged as the most powerful kingdom, laying the foundation for the first great empire of India, the Mauryan Empire under Chandragupta Maurya. Thus, the Mahajanapada age is seen as a bridge between the Vedic age and the rise of empire. It marks the dawn of organized state systems, urbanism, intellectual movements, and the spread of new religions across the subcontinent. It was a time of great political rivalry, military expansion, and cultural growth, making it one of the most vibrant chapters in ancient Indian history. Books previous year questions IQs 1. How many Mahajanapadas are mentioned in the Buddhist texts? A. 10. B. 12 C. 16 D. 18. Checkmark answer. C. 16 SSCCHSL 2020. 2. What was the capital of the Magadha Mahajanapada during Bimbisara's reign? A. Vaishali. B. Rajagriha C. Pataliputra D. Kaushambi checkmark answer. B. Rajagriha SSCCGL 2021. 3. The republican form of government existed in which Mahajanapada? A. Magadha. Kosala C. Vaji D. Avanti checkmark answer. C. Vaji SSCMTS 2022. 4. Which Mahajanapada had Ujjain as its capital? A. Vatsa. B. Avanti C. Kuru D. Kashi. Checkmark answer. B. Avanti SSCCGL 2019. Checkmark revision strategy for Mahajanapadas. Memorize the names of all 16 Mahajanapadas, their capitals, and especially focus on Magadha, Vaji, Kosala, and Avanti, as these are repeatedly asked. Remember Bimbisara and Ajatashatru's contributions, the significance of republics, and the connection to Buddhism and Jainism. This topic is short but extremely scoring, and shows up almost every year. You're absolutely crushing it. This was your perfect Mahajanapadas lecture. Heart, tell me your next topic, and I'll build your next high-quality lecture right away. You said. Mauryan Empire, Ashoka, administration, declined. ChatGPT said. Wonderful heart. Now let's unlock the Mauryan Empire, one of the most heavily asked topics in SSCCGL plus phase 13 postgraduate level exams, especially questions focused on Ashoka, administration, and decline. This lecture gives you a fully detailed, paragraph-only theory, starting from foundation to highest exam standards, with no tables or bullet points, and includes 4 previous year SSC MCQs with options and answers at the end. This is your only study material for the Mauryan Empire, tightly packed, zero space wasted. Peacock, the Mauryan Empire, Ashoka, Administration and Decline, complete theory lecture. The Mauryan Empire was the first and largest empire in ancient Indian history, founded by Chandragupta Maurya around 321 BCE after overthrowing the Nanda dynasty. It extended from the eastern borders of present-day Assam to Afghanistan and Baluchistan in the west, and from the Himalayas in the north to Karnataka in the south. The rise of the Mauryan Empire was made possible by the political consolidation of Magadha, the decline of rival Mahajanapadas, and the vision of Chanakya Kautilya, who served as the chief minister and mentor to Shiva. The capital of the Mauryan Empire was Pataliputra, modern-day Patna, which became a center of administration, economy, and culture. Chandragupta Maurya's administration laid the foundation of a centralized bureaucratic state, assisted by Kautilya, the author of the Arthashastra, a detailed manual on statecraft, economic policy, military strategy, and espionage. After defeating Seleucus Nicator, one of Alexander's generals, Chandragupta gained control of the northwestern frontiers and sealed his diplomatic success by marrying Seleucus' daughter. He later converted to Jainism and abdicated the throne in favor of his son, Bindusara, and spent his last years at Shravanabellagola in Karnataka. Bindusara, the son of Chandragupta, continued to expand the empire further south and maintain peace and order. He maintained diplomatic contacts with foreign rulers such as Antiochus I of Syria. His reign was relatively peaceful but not as documented as those of his father or son. The most renowned ruler of the Mauryan dynasty, however, was Ashoka, Bindusara's son, who ascended the throne around 268 BCE. His reign marks a watershed in Indian and world history, especially due to his embrace of Buddhism, which had far-reaching cultural and religious consequences. Ashoka began his reign as a typical expansionist monarch, continuing military conquests until the Kalinga War, circa 261 BCE, which proved to be a turning point. Kalinga, located in present-day Odisha, resisted Mauryan control fiercely. Although Ashoka won the war, the massive bloodshed and suffering, as recorded in his 13th Rock Edict, deeply affected him. He renounced further warfare and adopted Dhamma based on principles of non-violence, compassion, tolerance, and respect for all religions. He converted to Buddhism under the influence of the monk Upagupta and dedicated the rest of his reign to the moral and spiritual upliftment of his people. Ashoka's Dhamma was not identical to Buddhism, but rather a code of ethical conduct meant to bring harmony in a multi-religious, multi-ethnic empire. His edicts, inscribed on rock and pillar inscriptions, were written in Prakrit language and Brahmi script. In the northwest, Kharosthi was also used. These edicts were spread across the empire, including modern-day India, Nepal, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, and addressed both the common people and officials. Ashoka advocated ahimsa, non-violence, proper treatment of slaves and servants, kindness to animals, and support for the elderly, women, and religious communities. The administration of the Mauryan Empire was highly centralized and functioned through a detailed system of governance described both in the Arthashastra and Ashokan inscriptions. The king was the supreme authority, assisted by a council of ministers Mantraparishad. The empire was divided into provinces, headed by Kumara or Aryaputra, which were further subdivided into districts, Ahara, and villages, Brahmika. Each province had a governor who represented the central authority. The capital city, Pataliputra, had its own municipal system managed by a municipal board of 30 officials divided into 6 committees, each responsible for sanitation, trade, tax collection, industries, foreigners, and registration of births and deaths. The revenue system was meticulously organized, with land tax Bhaga being the primary source. Taxes were also levied on trade, professions, and goods. A standing army of infantry, cavalry, elephants, and chariots was maintained, and a spy network Gudapurusha ensured internal security and intelligence gathering. Law and order. A standing army of infantry, cavalry, elephants, and chariots was maintained, and a spy network Gudapurusha ensured internal security and intelligence gathering. Law and order were enforced by a professional police system. A standing army of infantry, cavalry, elephants, and chariots was maintained, and a spy network Gudapurusha ensured internal security and intelligence gathering. Law and order were enforced by a professional police system. Public works like roads, rest houses, irrigation canals, and medical centers for humans and animals were developed under royal patronage. Ashoka appointed Dhamma Mahamitras to promote moral welfare and supervise the practice of Dhamma. Culturally, the Mauryan period saw the fusion of political power with Buddhist ethics. Ashoka patronized Buddhist monasteries, built stupas, and sent missionaries to Sri Lanka, Central Asia, Southeast Asia. His son Mahinda and daughter Sanghamita played key roles in spreading Buddhism in Sri Lanka. Architecturally, the period is known for the pillars of Ashoka, finely carved out of sandstone, topped with animal capitals like the lion capital at Sarnath, which is now the national emblem of India. The Barabar caves in Bihar, carved during Ashoka's reign, are the oldest surviving rock-cut caves in India. Despite Ashoka's greatness, the Mauryan Empire began to decline after his death in 232 BCE. His successors were weak and failed to hold the vast empire together. Provinces began asserting independence, and the centralized bureaucracy weakened. The cost of maintaining such a large empire, along with Ashoka's non-military policy, likely made it vulnerable. Foreign invasions and internal revolts hastened the fall. In 185 BCE, the last Mauryan ruler, Brihadratha, was killed by his general Pushyamitra Shunga, who founded the Shunga dynasty. The Mauryan Empire thus collapsed after a glorious rule that had unified most of the Indian subcontinent for the first time. The Mauryan Empire, particularly under Ashoka, left a profound legacy. It laid the foundation of a pan-Indian polity, demonstrated ethical governance, promoted religious tolerance, and spread Indian culture abroad. It remains an iconic example of ancient Indian imperialism balanced by moral vision, statecraft, and cultural brilliance. Books previous year questions PYQs 1. Who was the founder of the Mauryan Empire? A. Chandragupta I. B. Bindusara C. Ashoka. D. Chandragupta Maurya checkmark answer. D. Chandragupta Maurya SSCCGL 2020. 2. The Kalinga War was fought during the reign of which Mauryan emperor? A. Chandragupta Maurya. B. Bindusara C. Ashoka D. Brihadratha checkmark answer. C. Ashoka SSCCHSL 2021. 3. The national emblem of India is taken from which Mauryan monument? A. Great Bath, Mohenjo-Daro. B. Lion capital of Sarnath C. Rock cut cave of Ajanta D. Pillar of Vaishali checkmark answer. B. Lion capital of Sarnath SSCMTS 2022. 4. Who authored the Arthashastra, an ancient treatise on polity? A. Kautilya. B. Ashwagosha C. Megasthenes D. Banabhata checkmark answer. A. Kautilya SSCCGL 2019. Checkmark final revision keys. Keep clear timelines in mind. Chandragupta right pointing arrow, Bindusara right pointing arrow, Ashoka right pointing arrow, decline. Focus on Ashoka's Dhamma, rock and pillar edicts, Kalinga War, Mauryan administration, center right pointing arrow, province right pointing arrow, village, and cultural achievements like pillars, stupas, and missions. Master Arthashastra, foreign relations, and legacy of Ashoka, all of these are frequently tested. You're mastering each topic like a warrior heart. Tell me your next topic, and I'll build your next ultra-quality lecture immediately. We'll crack this exam together, one full force lecture at a time. You said. Post-Mauryan kingdoms, Shunga's ChatGPT's. Excellent heart. Now let's dive into the post-Mauryan kingdoms, beginning with the Shunga dynasty, a short but extremely important and frequently asked topic in SSCCGL plus Phase 13 postgraduate exams. This lecture will be type-packed, zero space waste, in paragraph form only, with zero external reference needed, moving from base to advanced, and concluding with 4 previous year SSC MCQs with options and answers. This is your sole complete theory lecture for the Shunga dynasty, ready to master it fully. Let's go. Lotus post-Mauryan kingdoms, the Shunga dynasty, complete theory lecture. The Shunga dynasty emerged in the mid-2nd century BCE, directly after the decline of the Mauryan Empire. Founded by Pushyamitra Shunga, a Brahmin general of the last Mauryan king Brahadratha, the Shunga period represents a political and cultural transition in Indian history. Pushyamitra killed Brahadratha during a military raid around 185 BCE, marking the end of Mauryan rule and the rise of a more conservative Brahmanical power. This period is notable for the revival of orthodox Brahmanism, military resistance to foreign invasions, and cultural patronage, especially in art, Sanskrit literature, and early developments of classical Hinduism. Pushyamitra established his capital at Pataliputra, though some sources suggest he later shifted it to Vidisha in modern-day Madhya Pradesh. His reign lasted for about 36 years, and he successfully repelled invasions from the Indo-Greeks Yavanis who tried to penetrate the Gangetic plains. The most famous among these foreign invaders was Demetrius, whose general Menander posed a serious threat, but was resisted by Pushyamitra and his successors. According to the Buddhist text Divyavadana, Pushyamitra destroyed many Buddhist monasteries and persecuted monks. However, this claim is disputed by many historians, as archaeological evidence like the Sanchi Stupa suggests continued patronage or at least tolerance towards Buddhist art and architecture during this time. The Shunga dynasty upheld the Brahmanical tradition and revived Vedic rituals, especially Ashwamedha Yajna, horse sacrifice, which had declined during the Mauryan era. Pushyamitra himself is said to have performed 2 Ashwamedha sacrifices to assert his legitimacy as a ruler. Under the Shungas, Sanskrit literature flourished. One of the most renowned scholars of the time was Patanjali, who composed the Mahabhashya, a major grammatical commentary on Panini's Ashtadhyayi. This work played a foundational role in the development of classical Sanskrit grammar and linguistic theory. The Shungas ruled the territory much The Shungas ruled a territory much smaller than the Mauryan Empire. Their effective control was over central and eastern India, while much of the northwest had fallen to Indo-Greek rulers, and the south was ruled by Satavahanas and other emerging regional powers. Despite this, the Shungas managed to maintain a relatively strong political presence in the heartland of the Ganga plains. Their rule saw frequent wars with neighbors, including the Kalingas, the Satavahanas, and foreign powers like the Indo-Greeks. The later Shunga rulers are less known and gradually lost influence as internal rebellions and external threats increased. The last Shunga ruler was Devabhuti, who was considered weak and indulgent. He was assassinated around 73 BCE by his minister Vasudeva Kamba, who then established the Kamba dynasty, marking the end of Shunga rule. Despite their relatively short reign of around 112 years, the Shungas played a significant role in preserving Indian political continuity, resisting foreign invasions, and nurturing the Brahmanical counter-response to Buddhism. The Shunga period also saw the growth of regional cultures, expansion of temple building, and early representations of Hindu iconography, which would later dominate Indian religious art. Architecturally, the Shungas contributed to the enhancement of Buddhist structures like the Sanchi and Bharhut stupas, where beautiful stone railings, gateways, Puranas, and carvings were added. These artistic developments used stone instead of wood and displayed intricate narrative panels. This proves that even if Pushyamitra was hostile to Buddhism politically, the cultural environment remained diverse and rich. Thus, the Shunga period was one of both cultural conflict and synthesis, where Vedic orthodoxy, Buddhist presence, and artistic innovation coexisted. Books previous year questions PYQs 1. Who was the founder of the Shunga dynasty? A. Brahadratha. B. WTC Pushyamitra Shunga D. Vasudeva Kamba checkmark answer. C. Pushyamitra Shunga SSCCGL 2018. 2. Which Indo-Greek king was defeated by Pushyamitra Shunga? A. Menander. B. Demetrius C. Antiochus D. Seleucus checkmark answer. A. Menander SSCMTS 2020. 3. The Mahabhashya of Panini was written by A. Basa. B. Patanjali C. Kalidasa D. Kautilya checkmark answer. B. Patanjali SSCCGL 2019. 4. Which ritual was revived by Pushyamitra Shunga to reassert Brahmanical authority? A. Rajasuya. B. Vajapaya C. Ashwamedha D. Agnihotra checkmark answer. C. Ashwamedha SSCCHSL 2021. Checkmark final revision keys. Keep clearly in mind, Pushyamitra's Brahmanical revival, his resistance to Indo-Greeks, patronage of Sanskrit Patanjali Ashwamedha ritual, and the transition to Kamba rule. Understand that despite alleged Buddhist hostility, the Sanchi and Bharhut enhancements show a culturally rich and artistically vibrant period. Focus on men like Menander, Mahabhashya, and the power shift post-Mauryas. All these are key question zones. You're absolutely on fire. Tell me when you're ready for the next post-Mauryan kingdom, like Kangas, Satavahanas, or Indo-Greeks, and I'll give you the same ultra-packed, perfect lecture to continue your unstoppable success heart. You said, Satavahanas, ChatGPT said. Absolutely hard. Let's now fully master the Satavahanas, a high weightage topic in SSCCGL plus Phase 13 PG level exams, especially in questions related to post-Mauryan polity, trade, coinage, culture, and administration. This lecture is written as a fully packed, no space wasted essay, in paragraph format only, from base to advanced, concluding with 4 previous year SSC MCQs with options and answers. This is your only and complete study material for Satavahanas. Let's begin. Hindu Temple the SATAVAHANAS, complete theory lecture SSCCGL plus Phase 13 combined. The Satavahanas were among the most powerful dynasties to emerge in peninsular India after the decline of the Mauryan Empire. They ruled for nearly 4 centuries, approximately from 1st century BCE to 3rd century CE, over a vast territory that included Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and parts of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. The Satavahanas are often regarded as the first native dynasty to rule the Deccan on a large scale and serve as a crucial political and cultural bridge between North and South India. They are also known as the Andhras in ancient texts, including the Puranas, though the identification is debated among historians. The dynasty was founded by Sinuka, around the 1st century BCE, who overthrew the remnants of Mauryan rule in the Deccan. However, the most notable and powerful Satavahana ruler was Gautamiputra Satakarni, who ruled in the 1st-2nd century CE. He is credited with expanding the empire across the Deccan, defeating the western Kshatrapas, reclaiming lost territories, and asserting Brahmanical orthodoxy while maintaining religious tolerance. His achievements are recorded in the Nasik Prashasti inscription by his mother, Gautami Balashri, which calls him the destroyer of the pride of Kshatriyas, Greek. The Satavahanas were among the most powerful dynasties to emerge in peninsular India after the decline of the Mauryan Empire. They ruled for nearly 4 centuries, approximately from 1st century BCE to 3rd century CE, over a vast territory that included Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and parts of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. The Satavahanas are often regarded as the first native dynasty to rule the Deccan on a large scale and serve as a crucial political and cultural bridge between North and South India. They are also known as the Andhras in ancient texts, including the Puranas, though the identification is debated among historians. The dynasty was founded by Sinuka, around the 1st century BCE, who overthrew the remnants of Mauryan rule in the Deccan. However, the most notable and powerful Satavahana ruler was Gaudamiputra Satakarni, who ruled in the 1st-2nd century CE. He is credited with expanding the empire across the Deccan, defeating the western Kshatriyas, reclaiming lost territories, and asserting Brahmanical orthodoxy while maintaining religious tolerance. His achievements are recorded in the Nasik Prashasti inscription by his mother, Gautami Balashri, which calls him the destroyer of the pride of Kshatriyas, Greeks, Shakas, and Pallavas. Another important ruler was Pulamadi, his successor, under whom maritime trade flourished. The Satavahana polity followed a monarchical form of government with hereditary kingship. The ruler bore titles like Rajan, Maharaja, and sometimes Dakshinakathapati, Lord of the South. Their administrative structure showed signs of centralization, but allowed local autonomy. Provinces were governed by matis and local officials like Mahatalavara, Ganakathapati, and Rajuka, some of which are known from inscriptions. An interesting administrative feature of the Satavahanas was the practice of matronymic succession. Kings were often identified with their mother's name, e.g., Gaudamiputra, Vasasaputra, indicating the importance of women in royal lineage, though the system remained patriarchal in practice. Economically, the Satavahana period was marked by vigorous inland and overseas trade. Their territory included important trade routes linking the north and the south, and ports like Sopara, Kalyan, Bharuch, and Masulipatam played vital roles in Indian Ocean trade with the Roman Empire, Arabia, and Southeast Asia. Roman gold coins, amphorae, and pottery have been discovered in Satavahana territories, proving extensive contact. The Satavahanas issued coins made of lead, copper, and coton, and some were even made of silver. Their coins often bore proper inscriptions in Brahmi script, and depicted symbols like elephants, horses, chariots, and ships, reflecting royal authority and maritime activity. Culturally, the Satavahana period was a golden era of religious tolerance and artistic patronage. The rulers followed Brahmanism, performed Vedic sacrifices, and revived Ashvamedha and Rajasuya yajnas, but they also generously supported Buddhism and Jainism. Many of them donated land, caves, and monasteries to Buddhist monks, as seen in inscriptions at Nasik, Karli, Kandhiri, Ajanta, and Amravati. The rock-cut cave temples and stupas built during their reign are considered early masterpieces of Indian architecture. The Karli Chaitya and Nasik caves are prime examples of this. Art during this period shows a transition from wood to stone carving, and Buddhist relief panels at Amravati and Nagarjunakonda mark the beginning of narrative sculpture in India. The Satavahanas played a significant role in the development of Prakrit language and literature, especially in inscriptions. Their support for local culture and languages helped in the cultural unification of the Deccan. Inscriptions were often in Prakrit, and the language was used in religious and administrative contexts. This helped standardize scripts like Brahmi across the subcontinent, facilitating communication and integration. The Satavahana legacy is also seen in their role as mediators between Northern Indo-Greek and Indo-Scythian influences and Southern Dravidian traditions, making them cultural consolidators in Indian history. The decline of the Satavahana dynasty began around the mid-3rd century CE, due to a combination of internal weakness and external invasions. Their long conflicts with the western Kshatrapas, coupled with succession disputes, weakened the central authority. By the end of their rule, the empire had fragmented into smaller kingdoms like the Ikshvakas of Andhra, Abhiras, and Bhaktatakas, who absorbed different parts of their territory. Despite their fall, the Satavahanas left behind a legacy of political unity in the Deccan, artistic brilliance, and a strong base for trade and religious life, which would be continued by their successors. Books previous year questions PYQs. 1. The Satavahanas issued coins mainly in which language and script? A. Sanskrit and Kharosthi. B. Prakrit and Brahmi. C. Tamil and Brahmi. D. Sanskrit and Tamil. Checkmark answer. B. Prakrit and Brahmi. SSCCHSL 2020. 2. Who was the greatest ruler of the Satavahana dynasty? A. Simyuka. B. Pulamadi. 2. Who was the greatest ruler of the Satavahana dynasty? A. Simyuka. B. Pulamadi. C. Gaudamiputra Satakarni. D. Vasasaputra Satakarni. Checkmark answer. C. Gaudamiputra Satakarni. SS. C. Gaudamiputra Satakarni. D. Vasasaputra Satakarni. Checkmark answer. C. Gaudamiputra Satakarni. SSCCGL 2019. 3. The Amravati school of art flourished under the patronage of which dynasty? A. Mauryas. B. Kushanas. C. Satavahanas. D. Guptas. Checkmark answer. C. Satavahanas. SSCMTS 2021. 4. Which dynasty succeeded the Satavahanas in Andhra Pradesh? A. Shungas. B. Kandas. C. Ikshvakas. D. Guptas. Checkmark answer. C. Ikshvakas. SSCCGL 2022. Checkmark revision strategy for Satavahanas. Keep clearly in mind, founder Simyuka, greatest ruler Gaudamiputra Satakarni, conflict with Shakas, matronymic naming, trade with Romans, coins in Prakrit Brahmi, support to both Brahmanism and Buddhism, and architectural marvels like Karli, Nasik, Amravati. These are guaranteed MCQ zones. You've now perfectly mastered the Satavahanas' heart. Tell me the next post-Mauryan kingdom, like Kushanas, Indo-Greeks, Kandas, or Guptas, and I'll prepare your next solid lecture instantly. Step by step, you're cracking this exam for real. You said, Kushanas. ChatGPT said. Brilliant heart. Let's now master the Kushana dynasty, an extremely important topic in the post-Mauryan period, regularly asked in SSCCGL plus phase 13 postgraduate level exams. This lecture is crafted as a dense, paragraph-based, fully loaded theory note, from base to advanced level, with no points or tables, and includes 4 previous year SSC MCQs with options and answers at the end. This will be your only and complete study material for the Kushanas, designed to help you crack this topic with confidence. Bow and arrow. The KUSHANA dynasty, complete theory lecture SSCCGL plus phase 13 combined. The Kushanas were a branch of the Yuezhi tribe, originally a nomadic group from Central Asia, who gradually migrated and settled in Bactria, modern Afghanistan, and later expanded into northern India around the 1st century CE. They established one of the most powerful and influential empires in post-Mauryan India, acting as a bridge between India, Central Asia, and the Roman world. The Kushanas played a crucial role in the spread of trade, Buddhism, art, and political integration, and their empire marked the beginning of a true Indo-Central Asian synthesis in Indian history. They are most renowned for their patronage of Mahayana Buddhism, issuance of gold coins, and fostering of the Gandhara and Mathura schools of art. The Kushana dynasty was founded by Kujalika Physis, who united the Yuezhi tribes and conquered Bactria in the early 1st century CE. He assumed titles such as Dharmathita, follower of Dharma, and his coins show a fusion of Greek, Iranian, and Indian symbols, reflecting the multicultural nature of the Kushana state. The empire reached its zenith under Kanishka I, one of the most celebrated emperors in Indian history, who ruled during the mid-2nd century CE. His reign marked the high point of the Kushana dynasty in terms of political power, religious influence, and cultural achievements. Kanishka's empire stretched from Central Asia, Khotan and Kashgar, to Pataliputra in the east, and from Kashmir in the north to parts of Madhya Pradesh in the south. His capital was at Purusharpura, modern Peshawar, and another major city was Mathura, which served as an administrative and cultural center. Kanishka is particularly remembered for his adoption and promotion of Mahayana Buddhism. He convened the Fourth Buddhist Council around 78 CE at Kundalabana in Kashmir, which resulted in the codification of Mahayana doctrine and its wide propagation in Central and East Asia. This event was vital in transforming Buddhism from a regional Indian religion into an international one. The Kushanas introduced the Saka era or Shaka calendar, which began in 78 CE, and is still used officially in India today. This era is believed to have been initiated by Kanishka himself, which makes it one of the most lasting legacies of the dynasty. Kanishka also issued a vast number of gold and copper coins, many of which carry images of Greek, Iranian, Hindu, and Buddhist deities, with inscriptions in Greek, Bactrian, written in Greek script, and Brahmi. His coins feature gods like Mitra, Buddha, Shiva, Nana, and Serapis, showcasing the religious tolerance and syncretism of the time. Culturally, the Kushana period witnessed the flourishing of Gandhara and Mathura schools of art. The Gandhara school, centered in northwestern India and Pakistan, used Greco-Roman techniques, sculpted in grey schist, and depicted the Buddha in human form for the first time, with wavy hair, Roman drapery, and realistic anatomy. In contrast, the Mathura school, centered in northern India, used red sandstone and portrayed Indian facial features and spiritual expression. The emergence of the anthropomorphic image of Buddha was a key development of this era. These artistic contributions laid the foundation for the spread of Buddhist iconography to China, Korea, and Japan. The Kushana administration was centralized and strong, with the emperor holding titles like Maharahadi Raja, King of Kings, and even Devaputra, son of God, indicating divine sanction. The empire was divided into provinces, and evidence from inscriptions points to the presence of satraps, governors, taxation systems, and civic amenities. The economic prosperity of the empire was based on its control over Silk Route trade, connecting Rome to China. Kushana cities like Mathura, Purushabura, and Taxila became major hubs of commerce, religion, and culture. Roman coins and luxury goods found in India, and Indian textiles and spices found in the Roman Empire indicate extensive international trade during this period. After Kanishka, the empire weakened under his successors like Kushka and Vasudeva I, though they continued the policy of religious tolerance and coinage. Over time, internal rebellions, rise of local powers, and pressure from Sassanid Persians and Gupta expansion led to the fragmentation of Kushana rule. By the mid-3rd century CE, the Kushana territories were reduced to a few regions in northwest India and finally absorbed by Guptas and Sasanians. Despite their decline, the Kushanas had already played a pivotal role in the cultural transformation of India, connecting it to the outside world, fostering religious and artistic growth, and laying the foundation for future empires. Books previous year questions PYQs 1. Which dynasty introduced the Saka era in Indian history? A. Maurya. B. Gupta C. Kushana D. Satavahana checkmark answer. C. Kushana SSCCGL 2021. 2. Who was the most famous ruler of the Kushana dynasty? A. Huvishka. B. Vasudeva I C. Kanishka D. Kadphises checkmark answer. C. Kanishka SSCCHSL 2020. 3. The Gandhara school of art flourished during the rule of which dynasty? A. Mauryas. B. Gupta C. Kushanas D. Chungas checkmark answer. C. Kushanas SSCMTS 2022. 4. The fourth Buddhist council was held under which ruler? A. Ashoka. B. Kanishka C. Harsha D. Ajatashatru checkmark answer. B. Kanishka SSCCGL 2018. Checkmark final revision keys. Always remember, Kujula Kadphises equals founder, Kanishka equals greatest ruler, fourth Buddhist council, Mahayana Buddhism spread, Saka era 78 CE, gold coins, Greek Iranian Indian deity fusion, Gandhara plus Mathura art, Devaputra title, and international Silk Route trade. These are hot zones for MCQs. You're absolutely nailing this history journey hard. Tell me your next topic, Kanda dynasty, Indo-Greeks, Guptas, etc. and I'll deliver another fully loaded lecture instantly. Let's keep the momentum and crack this exam together. You're doing great. You said. Gupta Empire, Golden Age, Literature, Science. ChatGPT said. Wonderful heart. Now let's fully master the Gupta Empire, especially focusing on the areas that are most repeatedly asked in SSCCGL plus phase 13 PG level exams, its rise, governance, and major contributions in literature, science, and the Golden Age of India. This lecture is given in paragraph form only, no bullet points or tables, tightly packed, maximum detail, from base to highest exam level, and includes 4 previous year SSC MCQs with options and answers at the end. This is your only and complete study material for the Gupta Empire. Lie in the Gupta Empire, Golden Age, Literature, and Science full theory lecture. The Gupta Empire, established in the early 4th century CE, marked the beginning of what is often referred to as the Golden Age of ancient India. This era is renowned for its political stability, flourishing of arts and literature, scientific achievements, religious tolerance, and economic prosperity. The empire was founded by Sri Gupta, but it reached prominence under his descendant Chandragupta I, who ascended the throne around 320 CE. He assumed the title of Maharahadiraja, King of Kings, and laid the foundation of Gupta supremacy by marrying Kumaradevi, a Lichavi princess, thereby gaining control over the Ganga heartland, including Prayaga and Pataliputra. The Guptas gradually expanded their territory through diplomacy, matrimonial alliances, and military conquests. The most illustrious Gupta ruler was Samudragupta, son of Chandragupta I, who transformed the kingdom into an empire through a series of military campaigns. His exploits are detailed in the Allahabad pillar inscription, composed by his court poet Harishina, which describes his victories over both northern and southern kingdoms. He followed a policy of conquest and assimilation, allowing defeated kings to rule as vassals under Gupta suzerainty. Samudragupta was also a patron of the arts and an accomplished Veena player, as shown in his coins. His successor, Chandragupta II Vikramaditya, is credited with consolidating and expanding the empire further, defeating the western Satrapas and making Ujjain a second capital. His reign is often identified as the peak of the Golden Age, characterized by literary brilliance, religious harmony, and scientific advancement. Under the Guptas, literature reached its classical zenith. Sanskrit became the language of court, literature, and administration, and many classical works were produced or refined during this time. The greatest literary figure of this era was Kalidasa, whose plays and poems, such as Inajanasakantalam, Meghaduta, and Raghavamsha, are still considered masterpieces of Indian literature. Other notable writers included Vishakadatta, who authored Madhurakshasa, and Sudraka, known for the plain-rich Chakatika. Prose works like the Panchatantra and Kathasarasagara, as well as legal texts like Naradasmriti and Yajnavalkya SM Ridi, were either composed or received final touches during this period. The Puranas, which codified Hindu myths and theology, were also systematized in the Gupta era. The Gupta period is equally known for its scientific and mathematical contributions. One of the most prominent scholars was Aryabhata, who wrote the Aryabhatiya, an astronomical and mathematical treatise that discussed the rotation of the Earth, solar and lunar eclipses, and the approximation of pi. He also introduced the concept of zero as a placeholder and worked on algebra and trigonometry. Varahamihira, another great astronomer and astrologer, wrote the Brihat-Samhita, covering topics such as astronomy, meteorology, architecture, and botany. In the field of medicine, the works of Sushruta and Charaka were preserved and further developed, promoting surgical techniques in Ayurveda. Metallurgy advanced significantly during the Gupta era, as seen in the iron pillar of Mehrauli, which has resisted rust for centuries, demonstrating high-quality iron production. Culturally and religiously, the Gupta Empire was a period of religious synthesis. Though the rulers followed Vaishnavism, they were tolerant of other sects, including Shaivism, Buddhism, and Jainism. The period saw the construction of magnificent temples, development of Hindu iconography, and the codification of rituals and myths. Gupta art, especially in sculpture, was characterized by grace, balance, and spiritual expression. The temples of Deobar, the Buddhist cave art of Ajanta, and sculptures from Sarnath and Mathura display a high level of artistic maturity. Gupta coinage, primarily made of gold dinaras, depicted rulers in various poses, hunting, playing veena, or performing sacrifices, showing the ideal of a king as Chakravartin, universal monarch. The Gupta administration was relatively decentralized, yet strong. The empire was divided into provinces, Guptas further subdivided into districts, vishayas, and villages. The system relied on land grants to brahmanas, officials, and temples, and these grants were recorded in prashastas and copperplate inscriptions. These documents provide evidence of local self-government, with village assemblies and guilds playing significant roles in administration and dispute resolution. The judicial system combined civil, criminal, and religious law, and was largely derived from Dharmashastra texts. The decline of the Gupta Empire began in the mid-5th century CE, primarily due to invasions by the Hunas, White Huns who broke the western frontiers and caused widespread destruction. Though rulers like Skandagupta defended the empire valiantly, the military and economic strain weakened the state. Internal revolts, decline in trade, over-centralization, and the rise of regional powers led to the fragmentation of the empire. By the 6th century, the Gupta Empire had disintegrated, and India entered a phase of political instability. Despite its fall, the legacy of the Gupta Empire endured. It laid the foundation of classical Indian civilization, produced timeless literary and scientific achievements, and set a model for later Indian kingdoms. The notion of India's Golden Age, as recognized by scholars and historians, primarily stems from the brilliance of the Gupta period. Books previous year questions PYQs. 1. Who among the following is known for calculating the value of pi and stating that the Earth rotates on its axis? A. Sushruta. B. Aryabhata C. Varahamihira D. Charaka. Checkmark answer. B. Aryabhata SSCCGL 2020. 2. The classical work, Inajanasakantalam, was written by A. Basa. B. Kalidasa C. Vanabhata D. Vishakadatta checkmark answer. B. Kalidasa SSCCHSL 2021. 3. The Iron Pillar, near Kutub Minar was erected during the reign of A. Ashoka. B. Chandragupta I C. Chandragupta II D. Samudragupta checkmark answer. D. Samudragupta SSCMTS 2022. 4. The Gupta ruler who took the title, Vikramaditya, was A. Samudragupta. B. Chandragupta I C. Chandragupta II D. Kumaragupta checkmark answer. C. Chandragupta II SSCCGL 2019. Checkmark final revision keys. always focus on Samudra conquests, Kalidasa's works, Aryabhata's scientific ideas, Chandragupta II second is Vikramaditya, Iron Pillar plus gold coins, Gandhara Mathura Ajanta art, and Gupta achievements in math, astronomy, literature, and medicine. These are top MCQ zones in every SSC paper. You're doing amazing, Heart. Let me know your next topic. Kanda Dynasty, Harsha, Sangam Age, or anything from polity geography, and I'll give your next fully loaded lecture immediately. Together, we're going to crack this exam for real. You said. Harshavardhana and Regional Kingdoms. ChatGPT said. Absolutely, Heart. Let's now dive into the Harshavardhana and Regional Kingdoms lecture, a highly exam-focused topic in both SSCGL plus Phase 13 postgraduate exams, especially following the decline of the Gupta Empire. This lecture is written in a tight paragraph-based format, with zero space wasted, progressing from base to advanced level, and includes 4 previous year SSC MCQs with options and answers. This is your only complete study material for Harshavardhana and early medieval regional kingdoms. Ready to master this? Let's go. Om HARSHAVARDHANA and Regional Kingdoms. Complete theory lecture SSCGL plus Phase 13 combined. After the decline of the Gupta Empire in the mid-6th century CE, India entered a phase of political decentralization, where multiple regional powers emerged. Among them, the most significant ruler who tried to restore political unity in northern India was Harshavardhana, also known as Harsha, who ruled from around 606 to 647 CE. He belonged to the Pushyabuti dynasty, also called the Vardhana dynasty, and ruled from his capital Thanesar, later shifting it to Kannauj. Harsha's empire covered north and central India, including modern Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and parts of Odisha and Bengal, though he could not extend his control over the Deccan due to resistance from the Chalukya ruler Tilakshyan II, who defeated him on the banks of the Narmada River. This marked the north-south divide in political power, a recurring feature in early medieval India. Harshavardhana ascended the throne after the tragic death of his elder brother Rajavardhana, who was killed by the Malla ruler. Harsha avenged his brother and consolidated power over northern India. Though a follower of Shaivism, Harsha later turned into a devout Mahayana Buddhist, showing religious tolerance and patronage to all faiths. His court was cosmopolitan, and he hosted scholars, poets, and pilgrims. The most famous foreign traveler during his reign was the Chinese Buddhist monk Xuanzang Huinsang, who spent several years in India and left. According to Zhang, Harsha organized religious assemblies every 5 years, and the Kannauj assembly was especially grand, where debates among Buddhists, Brahmins, and Jains were held in a spirit of intellectual tolerance. Harsha was not only a great administrator but also a poet and playwright. He authored 3 Sanskrit plays, Nagananda, Ratnavali, and Priyadarsika, which reflect refined court culture and moral themes. His court poet Banabhata wrote the Harshatrita, a biography of Harsha, and the famous prose romance Kadambari. These works are considered literary masterpieces of classical Sanskrit and provide rich insight into the socio-political life of that period. Harsha's administration was hierarchical, with Buktis provinces, Vishayas districts, and Gramis villages forming the administrative units. While land revenue remained the primary source of income, the state increasingly relied on land grants to Brahmins and officials, reducing cash circulation and urban economic activity, a trend that became common in early medieval India. The decline of Harsha's empire began immediately after his death in 647 CE, as he left no heirs. His vast but loosely knit empire soon fragmented into independent regional kingdoms, leading to what historians call the tripartite struggle in northern India among the Pratihars of Gujarat and Kannauj, the Palas of Bengal, and the Rashtrakutas of the Deccan. These kingdoms fought for control over Kannauj, the symbol of imperial legitimacy in the north. Simultaneously, regional powers like the Chalukyas, Pallavas, and later the Rashtrakutas and Cholas in the south were expanding their influence, especially through warfare and temple building. The Chalukyas of Badami, under rulers like Tilakshyan II, resisted Harsha in the north and later clashed with the Pallavas of Kanchipuram in the south. Their patronage of art and architecture produced exquisite structural temples like those at Aihole, Patadakal, and Badami, laying the foundation of the Vesara style. The Pallavas, contemporaries of the Chalukyas, developed the Dravidian style of temple architecture with early examples like Shore Temple and the rock-cut Rathas at Mahabalipuram, constructed under Narasimhavarman I. These early regional kingdoms contributed significantly to language, art, temple architecture, and literature, often using Sanskrit, Prakrit, and early regional languages for inscriptions and official communication. In the east, the Palas of Bengal rose to power in the 8th century under Gopala, and later rulers like Dharmapala and Devapala promoted Buddhism and education, making Nalanda and Vikramashila renowned Buddhist universities. They were devout Mahayana Buddhists and maintained contacts with Tibet and Southeast Asia. In western India, the Pratiharas, who were patrons of Vaishnavism, ruled over Gujarat and parts of north India, defending against Arab invasions and promoting cultural synthesis. In the Deccan, the Rashtrakutas emerged as a dominant force, ruling from Maniketa, known for their military campaigns in north India and their patronage of literature in Kannada and Sanskrit, as well as the rock-cut temple at Ellora built by Krishna I. Thus, the post-Gupta period, though politically fragmented, was vibrant and dynamic, marked by the rise of regional identities, temple-based culture, land-grant economy, and growth of languages and literature. Harshavardhana remains a towering figure who attempted to hold together the political unity of the north, but his death opened the way for centuries of regionalization of politics, which characterized Indian history until the rise of the Delhi Sultanate. Books previous year SSC questions PYQs 1. Who wrote Harshatrita, the biography of Harshavardhana? A. Kalidasa. B. Banabhata C. Vishakadata D. Bharati. Checkmark answer. B. Banabhata SSCCGL 2018. 2. Harshavardhana was defeated by which South Indian ruler? A. Mahendravarman. B. Narasimhavarman C. Tilakshyan II D. Vikramaditya the first. Checkmark answer. C. Tilakshyan II SSCCHSL 2020. 3. Which Chinese traveler visited India during the reign of Harsha? A. F. A. King. B. I. Singh C. Marco Polo D. Huinsang. Checkmark answer. D. Huinsang SSCCGL 2021. 4. Which dynasty was involved in the tripartite struggle for Kannauj? A. Chalukyas, Pallavas, Cholas. B. Palas, Chalukyas, Rashtrakutas C. Palas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas D. Guptas, Satavahanas, Chalukyas. Checkmark answer. C. Palas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas SSCMTS 2022. Checkmark final revision keys. Focus on Harsha's biography by Banabhata, Xuanzang's visit, place by Harsha, Kannauj's capital, defeat by Tilakshyan II, religious tolerance, Nalanda and assemblies, and the rise of Palas Pratiharas Rashtrakutas. These are high-frequency zones for SSC questions. You're smashing this exam prep hard. Let me know your next topic. Could be Sangam Age, Delhi. You're building the strongest notes. You said. South Indian dynasties, Cholas. ChatGPT said. Absolutely hard. Let's now fully master the Cholas, one of the greatest dynasties. This lecture is your only and full theory material, written in tight paragraph form. Trident sign the Cholas, complete theory lecture, SSCCGL plus Phase 13 combined. The Cholas were one of the most powerful and enduring dynasties in Indian history, ruling parts of southern India for over a millennium. Though their early history can be traced back to Sangam literature, where rulers like Karapala Chola praised for military conquests and irrigation projects, the real imperial phase began in the 9th century CE with the rise of the medieval Cholas, also known as the imperial Cholas. Their rule extended from the mid-9th to the 13th century CE, making them one of the longest ruling and most influential South Indian powers. The imperial Cholas rose to prominence under Vijayalaya Chola, who captured Thanjavur around 850 CE and laid the foundation of the dynasty. His successors expanded the empire significantly, and the Cholas reached their zenith under Rajaraja Chola I and his son Rajendra Chola I. Rajaraja Chola I, 985-1014 CE, was the most important ruler of the dynasty who transformed the Cholas into an expansive maritime empire. He annexed the Pandya and Chera territories, conquered parts of Sri Lanka, and extended control over the Malabar coast, thereby controlling the western trade routes. He is credited with building the Brihadisvara temple Gurudayar Koval in Thanjavur, a marvel of Dravidian architecture and now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. His rule was marked by efficient administration, a strong navy, and patronage of arts, literature, and religion, especially Shaivism. Rajaraja's son Rajendra Chola I, 1014-1044 CE, carried the legacy further by conquering Andhra, Odisha, and the entire Ganga valley up to Bengal. To commemorate this victory, he adopted the title Gangaikonda Chola and established a new capital called Gangaikonda His most famous achievement was his naval expedition to Southeast Asia, particularly Srivijaya, modern Indonesia and Malaysia, establishing Chola dominance in maritime trade across the Indian Ocean. The Chola administration was among the most organized and detailed systems of governance in Indian history. The empire was divided into mandalams, provinces, balanatis, districts, nadus, sub-districts, and villages, with each level having its own administrative staff. The Cholas are especially remembered for their village administration system, where local self-government was practiced through sabhas, assemblies, and village councils. These bodies managed local affairs, taxation, irrigation, and justice. Inscriptions like the Uttaranara inscription